A wildfire rolls through a rangeland. While it is controlled, instead of lush green grass growing back, the land is covered with tall, waxy plants adorned with yellow flowers. There's no forage value, and biodiversity tanks. Today we are talking about the invasive weed Dalmatian Toadflax. I'm Christy Gladham. I have worked in biological control for over 10 years. Welcome to the Colorado Department of Agriculture's Biological Control Series in collaboration with the USDA Western Sustainable Agricultural Research and Education Program. Dalmatian Toadflax, Linaria dalmatica, is an invasive perennial plant brought from the Mediterranean region as an ornamental for gardens, a fabric dye, and for medicinal purposes in the late 1800s. It's also known as wild snapdragon. After escaping cultivation, toadflax now invades forests, woodlands, and rangelands, especially in drought-stricken or disturbed areas. It has been observed heavily in fading directly after forest fires in Colorado. Dalmatian toadflax is a relatively short-lived perennial plant that reproduces by seed only. Each individual plant usually lives less than 5 years. New stems from Dalmatian toadflax rootstocks emerge in very early spring and grow up to 3 feet in height with oval or heart-shaped waxy blue-green leaves that clasp around the main stem. The leaves are alternating, growing in a stair-step, not directly across from each other. This can usually be a good way to differentiate these plants from some of our native penstemons before the plants have begun to flower. Toadflax leaves have a very thick, waxy cuticle that can make application of chemical control particularly difficult. Up to 25 upright stems are produced and typically a bit woody near the root crown. Flowers are bright yellow with 2 lips that form a mouth resembling a snapdragon, but with the addition of a long spur hanging straight down from the plant. The flowers are produced in spike-like racemes or vertical clusters, with flowering beginning low on the plant and getting younger and smaller towards the top. These plants can flower from May until August. The seed pods are round, brown pods that stay attached to the stem. Each season, a single plant may produce up to 500,000 seeds, with germination rates around 75%. Seeds are very small and may be viable for up to 10 years in the soil. The stems will begin senescing in October and will usually dry out but remain attached to the root through winter and sometimes for a year or more. These dead, senesced stems with round seed pods can be a good identification tool in the wintertime, occasionally accompanied by several small prostrate stems. The root system is fairly robust, sometimes extending as deep as 6 feet underground and up to 10 feet across. Buds may develop on these lateral roots and produce new shoots. Large colonies of this plant can outcompete shallow-rooted perennials for water or crowd out annual plants. Toadflax contains high levels of glucoside compounds, which are mildly toxic when consumed in large quantities, most especially to cattle. Animals will avoid these plants, which significantly reduces forage. As mentioned, chemical control can be particularly difficult to apply effectively on the thick, waxy cuticle of the plant. This usually requires higher surfactant levels, which can be really damaging to nearby non-target vegetation. Mowing is not effective. Hand pulling can be utilized for small infestations. Tillage can be utilized but will create large disturbances which will need to be monitored for other invasive weeds. Any of these control methods usually need repeated applications, and sites of previous infestations will require monitoring or continued control for up to 10 years due to the large amount of seed produced and longevity of seeds in the soil seed bank. If you have large, extensive patches of Dalmatian toadflax and the goal is to reduce the density, have minimal input, reduce invasion potential for neighboring properties, and reduce disturbance of the land as much as possible, then biological control could be a great management choice. As always, before considering collecting biological control agents, please ensure you have the proper permission or permitting to do so. Please ensure the biological controls are permitted and allowed in your area. Movement of biological controls across state lines is permitted by the USDA APHIS PPQ and subject to rules and regulation. Mecinus janthiniformis, the Dalmatian toadflax stem-boring weevil, was first approved for release within the U.S. in 1996. Adults are cylindrical, black with a blue-green tint to their elytra. They vary in size from 3 mm to 6 mm, or about the size of a grain of rice. The adults are found emerging from Dalmatian toadflax stems in fairly large numbers, typically in May. The newly emerged adults will mate and begin laying eggs, which can continue for a couple of months into July. Each female lays up to 45 eggs, which are found singly in little chewed holes on the stems. While a female may only lay one egg per stem, multiple females may utilize the same stem, resulting in many weevils developing within a single stem. When the eggs hatch, the larvae will begin eating away inside of the stem as they develop. They will pupate in the stem, becoming adults by fall, but they stay inside of the stems to hibernate and will not emerge until the following spring. There is only one generation per year, which makes these weevils univoltine. Collection of these weevils is relatively straightforward and can be performed in one of two ways: field collection of newly emerged adults or stem collections containing hibernating adults. Scouting sites to collect from will occur in May, sometimes into June. Large Dalmatian toadflax infestations that are not sprayed, mowed, or otherwise disturbed are best. A population of weevils will be collectible if you see multiple weevils per plant. In fall, you could break open stems and find multiple overwintering adults per stem. I would say around 10 to 20 weevils per plant or stem should be seen for a good collection site. Usually when I find a good collection site, the weevils are obvious on plants and I can begin field collections right away or take GPS coordinates for a collection in the fall to release weevils the following year. In May, June, and sometimes early July, adult weevils can be collected within the field. For field collection, you will want a cloth insect sweep net, collection container with plenty of food, and a cooler with ice packs. Dalmatian toadflax is a fairly stiff plant, so instead of sweeping the plants, which might catapult insects all over and break plant stems, it's best to use a tapping method. Hold the insect net at around 45 degrees with one side close to the middle or base of the toadflax, depending on the plant height. Use your free hand to gather and tap the plant material a few times into the opening of the net. The weevils will be startled and should fall off into the net. A good set of taps should yield 10 to 20 or more weevils. If you are getting less than 5 weevils, the collection site may not have a large enough population, or the timing may be a bit off, either a bit too early or too late in the season. Periodically tap down the insect net to concentrate insects into the bottom of the net. Don't overcollect, as too many insects in a net can suffocate, overheat, or get damaged. You may want to periodically empty your insect net into the large collection container. To do this, shake down the insect net to concentrate insects near the bottom of the net. Grab around the outside of the net with your free hand to close it off close to where the insects are concentrated. Using the hand that is closing off the net, invert the net. Hold the opening over or slightly inside the collection container. Push your hand through as you release your grip to get the insects into the collection container. You may give your hand a little wiggle inside of the inverted net to knock some stragglers off. From here, you could place the collection container into a cooler with ice packs or into a refrigerator for a little while before sorting out the weevils from any bycatch. Cooling the weevils will slow them down and make them a bit easier to handle. For sorting, you will want an aspirator or forceps, a clicker counter, a large flat rim tray, and release containers with Dalmatian toadflax foliage for food. To sort the weevils into individual releases, you could place them in a large tray for sorting or sort directly from your collection container. Use either an aspirator or forceps to collect 200 weevils and place them in a collection cup with Dalmatian toadflax foliage for food. The bycatch can then be released into the field or discarded. A release of 200 adult insects is usually recommended for each half acre to 1 acre of infestation, though a higher release rate may help you see a faster decline in toadflax populations. Another way to collect toadflax stem mining weevils is to collect stems containing hibernating adults. Stems are collected in the fall after the first freeze. You can break open one or a few senesced stems to confirm weevil presence and number of weevils per stem at the collection site. This will let you estimate the number of stems to clip and store over winter for the number of releases you plan the following spring. Stems can be clipped near the soil level, then stored in paper bags or cardboard boxes in a cold and stable environment. A walk-in cooler, refrigerator, or root cellar could work well. You do not want the stems to experience highly fluctuating temperatures or temperatures too far below freezing. You also need to be aware of humidity levels and ensure the stems do not mold during storage. There are a couple of benefits of this method of collection. First, you'll increase weevil survivorship and be able to maintain or increase weevil numbers more quickly. Field studies have shown that weevils overwintering in field conditions can have an over 50% mortality rate from exposure to multiple freezes. A second benefit is that you will prevent herbivory that can reduce overwintering weevil populations. Mice especially are prone to eating overwintering insects found inside of plant tissue. Third, you can time and plan your releases in the spring, reducing field collection time. To prepare your spring releases, you can place the stems directly at the field release site around mid-May and let the weevils emerge naturally. Make sure to clip off all the seed pods from the stems if using this method. Alternatively, you can bring the stems out to room temperature in a large enclosed container with mesh sides for plenty of air movement. Insect cages can be obtained fairly cheaply. The adults will emerge from the stems within a few days to a week. You can then aspirate or use forceps to collect the weevils and place them in groups of 200 in containers with plenty of fresh toadflax stems for food. This second method is best for getting precise numbers and completely excluding the chance of transferring unintended insects, seeds, or other contaminants from one field site to another. Each release of weevils may be stored in a refrigerator for up to 1 week, but releasing as close to the collection time as possible is better for the health of the insects. Releasing the weevils is incredibly straightforward. Take your release cups into the patch of Dalmatian toadflax where you would like to introduce weevils. Usually mid-morning on a sunny day is the best time for release as the insects will be more active, but any time should be okay. Don't release in very heavy rain, but if it rains after release, it is okay, the insects will be fine. Open the container and tip the weevils out into the toadflax all in one spot. They will disperse themselves throughout the patch, so you should not scatter them. If they are clinging inside of the cup, you can take a bit of grass or soft foliage and gently brush them out of the cup. Weevils have a startle response, which can cause them to play dead. It can be very convincing, but they should begin moving about in a couple of minutes. I like to take a photo of the weed patch for future reference, a GPS point, the number and species of weevil released, and the date of release for my records. You should begin to see the results of your release within 2 to 3 years. Weevils will easily be seen when in high numbers in the spring and early summer. There will be very characteristic holes chewed through the leaves by the adults, and with more careful observation, egg deposition holes can be viewed on the stems. Emergence holes from the previous year can be easily seen, and of course stems may be broken open like we've previously discussed to determine if adult weevils are overwintering. These weevils are very successful, and I tend to find them everywhere I see Dalmatian toadflax here in Colorado. While they decrease the plant's ability to flower and set seed and may also shorten the lifespan of individual plants, Dalmatian toadflax may continue to come up from the seeds that have been previously deposited in the soil. The seed bank may last up to 10 years, so it may take a few years to begin seeing a definite decline in toadflax abundance. Preventing disturbance of the soil and encouraging competition of native or desirable species will help with restoration of invaded landscapes. Eradication of toadflax from your land will take an integrated approach. Mowing is not compatible with the weevils as it would destroy the stems where they spend most of their life cycle. Mechanical removal of Dalmatian toadflax may be difficult to time with the weevil's life cycle, but could be utilized in very early spring before adult weevils emerge from the older stems. Mechanical removal typically does not get the full root system out and increases soil disturbance, which may increase the number of toadflax seeds that will germinate. Managed grazing by goats or sheep that is limited, so flowers are the majority of grazed material, can help further reduce flowering and seed production while preserving the stems the weevils need to develop. Herbicide applied in late fall could be a good integrated management. A healthy landscape with lots of competitive native vegetation may see better and faster results from biological control. Strategies to increase native vegetation could include tillage-free reseeding and providing supplementary moisture during the growth stages of desirable plants. I hope this video has given you the methods and confidence to identify, collect, release, and manage Dalmatian toadflax stem mining weevils. There will be a list of references and sources in the video description if you would like to read more about these helpful insects and further ways to manage Dalmatian toadflax. Thank you for joining me today.